So what's good, everybody? And how y'all doing today? And I'm Crazy Jay, and this is Crazy Jay's World. And I want to know how everybody's doing. So, today I wanted to talk about the 12 rewards of sobriety. Yes. So the 12 rewards of sobriety are a big thing in sobriety because there's something that you get out of being sober. You get a lot out of being sober. So basically, when you get sober, your whole life changes. And it doesn't just change overnight. It takes time. Some people think they get sober and 30 days later, everything's supposed to be better, and it is. A lot of people, it is. Some people, it's not, though. Some people don't give sobriety long enough. They'll be sober a month, 90 days, and then they'll go back out because sobriety wasn't doing what they thought it was going to do. Listen, you got to give sobriety time. Sobriety doesn't happen overnight. All the years of using and drinking builds up to years of, trauma, things that happen that are horrible to you, So basically, like me, for instance, I started using when I was, I started smoking weed when I was 11, but I didn't get into really drugs until I was like 16. Ecstasy, I started doing when I was about 16. And then from then on, I went on until I was 35, until 2017. So I used for almost, 20 years? Yeah, 11. Yeah, over 20 years. So that's a long time, and I have 9+ years of sobriety and I'm still growing every day. You're going to grow in recovery every day for the rest of your life until you're not here anymore. Recovering means you're recovering. Every day you recover a little more from what you've done to yourself from using, like if you go to meetings a lot or if you have your sponsor and you talk about things. Sponsor's a big thing because it's someone there that listens to you and guides you and doesn't judge you. I don't feel like you're judged in recovery. Maybe some people do feel that way. I don't feel like I'm judged in recovery. And I don't care if I am because what I did to myself, I need recovery. If it's not for recovery, I'm not going to be here anymore. If it wasn't me getting sober, I definitely would be dead. Like, I know that. And I don't think I have another recovery in me. So I love being sober. It's the best thing I could ever did for myself. And I will continue to say that one day at a time because that's all we could do we can only do it one day at a time. So the 12 rewards of sobriety. I remember I learned about this. I think I had, I think I had about 60 days sober and I heard about the 12 rewards of sobriety and I didn't really understand what it was. I didn't have enough sobriety time. I feel like you don't really understand things in sobriety until you have at least a year or longer because the first year is the hardest year in sobriety, I feel. I might be wrong. Other people might think maybe the 5th year is the hardest. I know the first year I struggled a lot. The first 7 months I struggled a lot. I didn't even know if if I ever wanted to be sober. I knew I wanted to be sober, but it was a very hard time for me because I was struggling so much. Like things weren't in place in my life yet in the first 7 months for me to realize sobriety was the answer yet, if that makes sense to anybody. So, the first 7 months I really, really struggled. I went to meetings every day. Sometimes I went to like 5 meetings a day with my sponsor. I did a lot of meetings in my first year and I didn't work until my second year. And into my second year, I'm sorry. I had over a year. It was going into my second year when I started working. But my first year was all about just staying sober, going to meetings, being around positive people, and just doing the best I could to, stay sober one day at a time. And now I have almost 9.5 years sober. So, I'm happy for that. But before I get into what I want to talk about today, so I started this podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I kind of been all over the place with it. So I decided to start it over. I love my name of the podcast, Crazy Jay's World. That's my image now, and I love it. But I really need to talk about life in recovery and, things that go on in recovery, like relationships, anger, anxiety, ADHD, loneliness, depression, all these things that come with sobriety. At the moment right now, I am lonely. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have anybody interested in me or I'm interested in them. And at times it gets to me, being lonely. I'm a Pisces also, and Pisces are very emotional people, unfortunately. So, and I wear as Pisces on my sleeve because I am a very emotional person. I show my, especially when I would drink. When I would get drunk, oh my God, my emotions would come out so much. I said things a lot when I was drinking that I did not mean. I hurt people in my drinking and said a lot of things that I just never meant to say. And to everyone out there who's listening that ever was around me when I was drinking, I'm truly sorry if I ever hurt anybody. If I ever did anything to you, I want to make an amends because, you know, that's not me. The alcohol made me somebody that I am totally not. And I can't take back the things I've done. I can only change who I am now in recovery, and I plan on doing that. But again, I created this podcast to talk about recovery and life. And that's what my higher power is telling me to do. Like, I feel like I am meant to do this. And I feel like I'm going to be successful doing this if I just keep doing it. I feel like good things are going to happen for me as long as I stay positive and just keep making content. And people are going to listen and my voice is going to be heard. And people are going to be like, yo, that's Crazy Jay. Like they're going to know who I am. And I just felt like I tried to already start making stuff that just people want to listen to. And that's not why I created this. I didn't start doing this to make people listen for other things than what I want to talk about. So, the big thing about me doing this and sitting here is for one, being comfortable. And I'm very comfortable. Like I actually enjoy doing this. My friend Makai was supposed to come on today. We had a little lapse. We're going to try again tomorrow. He will be on, whether it's tomorrow, hopefully, or, in the future. But I want to start having people on. I want to start doing interviews on here. I feel like I can do good interviews with people. But when they come on, I want them to talk about their life. I mean, we could be funny. We could joke around stuff, that's cool. But I want it to be like a serious conversation, like between two people having a conversation and just talking. And I record it and I put it on here for people to listen to. And I hope they get something out of it. Everybody's different in their own show. I'd love someone to interview me and I could talk about myself more than me just getting on here and sitting in front of my computer and blabbing about, whatever I want to blab about, So, all right. So, but I wanted to just get that out that I'm going to start. This is the first fresh episode. And from here on out, for at least for the time being, is going to be about recovery. I want to be a face of recovery. I thought about actually naming my channel. I don't know if people would like this, but I was going to call myself the Recovery Guru. That's what the podcast was going to be called, the Recovery Guru originally. And then I came up with Crazy Jay's World because I feel like when I'm in here and people are listening, they're listening to my world. Like, this is my world. That's why. And like I said, again, Crazy Jay, my name is Chris. My last name is Johnson. And the J, people would call me, they would be like, yo, you're Crazy Johnson. So I just took out the Johnson part, which I love my last name. I love my last name. And just took the J. And I said Crazy J. But it came from people calling me. It wasn't something I just made up. So I don't want people to think that I made up the name just to be cool. I didn't. It's a part of who I am and where I've come from. So we're going to start reading the 12 Rewards of Sobriety. So obviously there's 12 of them. It's funny. Let's get a laughing one on that one real quick. Yeah, baby. Like Austin Powers says. Yeah, baby. All right. So the first one is called Hope Instead of Desperation. So what does that mean? Hope instead of desperation. So to me, what that means, these are going to be basically to me what they mean. And then you can, when you listen and you comment, you guys can write in the comments what you guys want to write. Because I hope, people like, subscribe, share to my content on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I think this all goes on. But please check it out on YouTube. I'm trying to create my YouTube channel. So hope instead of desperation. So I feel like what that is, and when we're using, we are so desperate. Whether it's to get our next fix, for people to like us. I know I was very desperate in my using because I was desperate to get more drugs. I'm sorry to say that, and people might be like, huh? But, you know, a lot of my desperation when I was using was more so about drugs. I didn't have any hope. My hope was, to stay where I was, to not show people who I was, to not show my feelings, which, your feelings are so misconsumed and using that you don't even understand your feelings. You have a lot of different ones, especially when you get sober, and then all these feelings happen and you're like, I'm still to this day, all these feelings I have, I'm just like, wow, like sometimes I don't know what to do with them, so the first one is good because you finally get to have hope. Like I have hope in tomorrow, that there's a tomorrow for me, and I have hope that my kids will be healthy and they'll grow up and they'll be taken care of, my hope is to just be the best person I can be at the end of the day and be the best father I can be to my kids. And if I ever meet someone again, and, my hope is to be the best partner to that person, that woman that I get to be with whenever that happens. I have a lot of hope nowadays. My hope was shattered for a long time in using, and today it's not. I have that hope that I can stay sober the rest of today and start another day tomorrow. So, now the second one is faith instead of despair. So, my faith was I didn't have any faith in my using. I thought God hated me. I thought that still in the beginning of recovery, because when I got sober and things weren't changing right away, like I said before, I thought God was basically just like, didn't care about me. God cares about all of us. He just shows it in different ways to everybody. God might show one person one way and then show someone else another way. God shows me by letting me wake up, being alive, being sober, and that gives me faith in my higher power, whatever I call it, God. My higher power is whatever I want it to be. Despair is a big part of using because you have a hole in you when you're using. You do things and you're using that are just crazy, and you're just desperate, like desperation, and you just don't have faith. I don't think you do, because once you find faith, which you find in the rooms, you have a different perspective on life. Like I have a different perspective on life with my faith. And like I said, I was very in despair, and I didn't have that faith when I was using, and I used because I didn't have it. And once you get faith, things get so much better. You actually have something to look forward to. Like I'm trying to go to church now. I met with the girls. They're ministries of the Mormon. And I met with them a few times. I'm going to meet with them again. And their church sounds very interesting. And that's the faith of getting sober. Now I have the faith, and I want to speak to God, and I want God to talk to me. Like I want God to help me make my channel that I'm doing now, my podcast, successful. But it's not up to me. I got to leave it in the hands of my higher power, and just hopefully my faith guides me in the right direction, and I'm not having all that despair that I had when I was using, So number 3 is courage instead of fear. That's a big one, because fear is scary. I mean, I'm not saying it as a joke. I'm saying it as, I remember when I would run out of opiates and the fear would set in that I'm going to withdraw. And then when I would withdraw, it was horrible. I mean, I can't explain to people. I don't really want to explain what the withdrawal was like. The fear of just not having, also like when I was drinking the next day, the fear of not knowing what I did. So like if I said something to somebody, or if I did something to somebody and I hurt them and I found the next day, I had to live with what I did. Like a lot of alcoholics, like I'm an alcoholic also, have a lot of fear when we're drinking, because a lot of us black out. So we don't know what we did. I read a story in the AA book. This guy wrote it who was in prison, and he said he drank, he woke up and he was locked up, and then he was in prison because he wound up killing somebody while he was drunk. When he woke up, his fear was he didn't understand why he was locked up. And then when he found out why he was locked up and realized he actually killed somebody because he hit somebody with his car, he had to go to prison. And That's a thing, like a blackout, like fear is a big thing when we're using. I feel like we're afraid to live without drugs. We're afraid to be commitment to our family. And then when you get sober, the courage, like I have a lot of courage. I'm not scared to do things that I was scared to do when I was drinking or using. I'm not scared to be around people. When I was using, my fear was I had a lot of fears, from being around people like the way I was. People would talk about me, how I'm like a junkie, and it sucked. My courage was very low. Like, like the movie The Wizard of Oz with the courage with the carrot, the lion, how he didn't have the courage. So he was always scared. He was always in fear, and I feel like a lot of people when they're using, like a lot of people when they go out to the bar and they get drunk, they have fear that they need alcohol to make that fear go away because they can't be themselves without that liquid courage. You know what I mean? Because they don't have the courage to be who they really want to be and say what they want to say unless they're under the influence. And alcoholics, this one definitely, I mean, these are from AA. I mean, I'll show you what I have. I printed them up. I've had these for years. But I know that I was like that. Like, I had a lot of fear and I needed to drink also to say things that I needed to say and act a certain way. I didn't have that courage. Now I have that courage. Like, I have courage. Courage has always been in me. I just didn't know how to use my courage. So I feel like once you get sober, after a certain amount of time, that courage finally comes back and you could be like, you could take on things that you didn't think you could. Like me doing this. I mean, when I started talking about doing this podcast about 7 years ago. And I only started it maybe a month ago now. Because I was scared. I had fears. You still have fears even in recovery. But my courage told me that, Chris, my higher power told me that, Chris, do this podcast. You need to do this. Like, you need to be out. Like, I have a voice. Like, I'm very outgoing. So I need to talk to people. And I want to do it on, because a lot of people watch social media now. Social media is everywhere. So social media is a way for me to get out there, my courage. And I'm courageous by doing this. And people are going to watch this and they're going to judge me. They might say my videos suck. They might say I suck. And I have to just deal with it, and that's okay because maybe I do suck. I'll get better because my courage will help me get better. That's a definite will help me get better. Thank you. And this takes time. Like, doing this definitely takes time. I need to get more equipment that I want to get and stuff, to make my podcast better. But I feel like it's the courage that I'm doing is helping me. We'll talk about that with another, maybe at the end. Okay. So now we have number 4, peace of mind instead of confusion. So this one basically is you're at peace with yourself when you're sober. Everybody has their own way of doing peaceful things in recovery, meditating, yoga, meetings, writing in a journal. You need to have, like, basically what I feel like this is saying is peace of mind is basically you're at peace with yourself finally. Like when you get to a certain point in sobriety, you're at peace with yourself. When I was using, I was confused a lot. I thought people were talking about me or, a lot of things were going on that confused me. And the drugs and alcohol made them worse. I would get paranoid and do things that I thought people wanted me to do. The peace of mind I have now is so much better than the confusion I had when I was using. Like it's just, there's so much clarity in my life now when my mind is more level. I have my ADHD and my anxiety and all that stuff going on that I suffer with every day, but that's different than me being confused and having a peace of mind. Everything is going the way it's supposed to. So I'm very at peace right now. I'm at peace every day that I stay sober because I'm not having all that crap going on, all that toxicness of the drugs and alcohol in my life, So some of these I might not be able to talk about as good because, just I can't, but I'll talk about them the best I can. Like, all right, 5, Self-respect instead of self-contempt. So, and this happens too in recovery. A lot of us in recovery get contempt where we are. Like you get to a certain spot in your life, and I was getting like that, and you're just living. You're not going anywhere. Like you get sober, you got a couple years sobriety, and you're just living. Like you're just contempt. You're self-contempt. You're not elevating what you have and what you can give in sobriety. So like your self-respect is still low. And a lot of people I feel like who actually go back out and use, they don't fully get their self-respect back to where it needs to be because they're so content to where they are and things are not changing. Because if you stay content in recovery, things are not going to change. You can't just get sober, stop drinking and drugging, and then just live and expect, your self-respect to come back. You have to work on your self-respect. You have to work on you. Recovery is a lot of work. This is a lot of work. Like these last 9+ years has been a lot of work for me to be where I'm at. So, and I feel like I have self-respect regardless of how people talk to me still or treat me. People joke around with me and whatever. I'm a very easygoing guy, so I get it. Like I can take it. I'm like, it happens. And people like to goof around and I get it. And that's okay. Because I don't take stuff as seriously now because I'm at the point where I just need to worry about me and my sobriety, of not going back out and using because of somebody said something to me that I didn't like. Oh, let me go get drunk or let me go get drugs. No, I have self-respect now. They want to say whatever they want to say. That's fine. But I respect myself and I know my worth and I know what I'm worth and I'm worth a lot. And you are too. If you're listening to this, you are worth something. Remember that. Whether you're in sobriety or you're trying to get sober or even if you're just a normal person, you mean so much. Remember that. Like life is not forever and you have to live the best you can while you're here, and when I was drinking and drugging, man, it took so much of that away from me. I missed time with my kids. I had to go move upstate New York off and on for a bunch of times, live with my grandmother. And I didn't have self-respect. I didn't know what it was. I just was content with my drinking and drugging. And now I'm not content anymore. I have self-respect for myself. And ever listen to this, I do. I hope you do too, and you do. You can have self-respect. You can respect yourself. So let's move on to number 6. Self-confidence instead of helplessness. So this one's a little confusing. Let's see. Self-confidence. Okay, so, all right. This one I would say basically, like, I have confidence. I'm a very confident person. I don't get rattled very easily. I don't get embarrassed very easily. I guess I used to maybe. But helplessness, I always felt helpless. I still feel helpless now, even in sobriety. I mean, I know this one says self-confidence instead of helplessness, but I feel helpless a lot still because of my living situation with things going on in my life and me, I'm just not living up to my potential. Like, I used to draw when I was younger and my mom would get on me as I got older, why I didn't keep drawing and why I didn't use my potential, like the potential I had, because I guess my self-confidence dropped. I just never did anything with my drawing. I tried doing tattoos for a little bit too, which I still think I could do that. I have to find time, but I want to do this more with the podcasting thing. But yeah, helplessness, man, I was helpless for a long time. I feel like you get so helpless that eventually it controls you, and you don't know how to get out of it. And a lot of times, like me, for instance, I don't like asking for help. So when I get that helplessness, I don't know how to get out of it because I don't like asking anybody for help. I want to do everything myself. Even when I'm working, I don't want to ask people for help. Like I need to work on that. That's something that maybe people out there need to work on. I need to work on that. But my self-confidence has definitely risen a lot since I got sober. And I know in using, when you're using, my self-confidence was low. I didn't feel very confident about myself as a person. I felt like I was just below average. I was just a piece of garbage. I didn't deserve anything good. Everything was going bad all the time, But then I got sober and my self confidence definitely changed. I feel so much more confident about myself. And I hope if you're listening out there, I hope you do too. I hope you get that confidence you need, because it changes the way you feel in recovery a lot, you know. So, number 7, respect of others instead of their pity and contempt. So, yeah, like for instance, with me, I'm just going to use me as an example because, I don't know anybody else that to use, but um, I feel like I get a lot of respect from it, especially when I tell them how much sobriety I tell them. I love when I tell somebody, just like when they ask, about my life, and I tell them I'm sober, and then I tell them how long, and they're like, yo, that is awesome. Like, I get a lot of respect from that person. Like, I feel like getting sober gives you respect. Like, you will get respect because there's a lot of people that don't understand addicts, how we think, why we do the things we do. A lot of people back, I remember 20 years ago, was like, why can't you just stop? Why can't you just stop using? Why can't you just put alcohol down? Because it's something in our brain that doesn't let us do that. And every day that you're sober is a miracle. Every hour you're sober is a miracle. Remember that. This is a miracle. And the percentage of the miracle isn't a lot. I mean, I think it was like a couple years ago, I found out it was like 7% of the world is sober. So think about that. Out of the whole world, 7% are sober. That's not a very good percentage. So I feel like, I have a lot of respect from other people. And, I don't have their pity anymore. I remember I used to make people feel sorry for me and give me pity when I was to get money out of them, to get drugs out of them, to get things out of them. And today I don't do that. Today I don't want pity. I don't want people's pity. I want people to respect me as a person because I want to give them respect. If you give respect, you should get respect. Some people you give respect and they don't give it back. Some people just don't respect other people. There are people out there who just don't care how other people feel and they just have no respect towards them. Like they're just unrespectful people. And there's a lot of people out there that are like that. But I know that I get a lot of respect from people. I feel like I do, in what I do now, so I definitely feel like that's a thing that I get. Let's see. Number 8, a clear conscience instead of a sense of guilt. Yes. So like I said earlier, when I used to drink, man, the next day I would have so much guilt built at me because I was a blackout drinker. So I would do things and black out and not remember until the next day. Like I remember there was times I'd be at my grandma's when I was drinking upstate because I had to live up there and I didn't get sober yet at the time. I remember I'd come downstairs and she would tell me things that I did and I'm like, what? Like I said nasty words to my grandmother when I was drinking, which grandma, I'm sorry. And I've made amends there and she's forgiven me, thank God. But man, I remember, even using, like, I had so much guilt when I was actively using. And that was horrible to live with all that. And then when you get sober, you have to learn how to get rid of that guilt. Like you have to make amends. There's people that you hurt that are not going to want to forgive you. And you might still feel guilty about that. But you have to just move on so when you make an amends, they says make amends unless you're going to hurt them. It doesn't mean physically, it means like mentally. Sometimes you don't make an amends because you shouldn't make that amends. It's just meant to be left alone, But yeah, man, I'll tell you, like the guilt that I used to feel when I would use, like using people and all this stuff was horrible. I had so much guilt. When I first got sober, that's what I think in the first year too. I had so much guilt of what I've done in my using days in my life that it took me a while to have a clean conscience. My conscience was so full of guilt, thinking the things I did when I was using. Because I remember things when I was using too. I don't remember everything, but I do remember things. And my conscience, man, today it's pretty clear because I feel like I made amends that I have to. I try to stay on the right path. I try to stay where I need to be in my lane. I try to keep my side of the street clean. If that makes sense. And if you're in recovery, you've heard that before. You got to keep your side of the street clean, man. I still have guilt. If I hurt somebody's feelings, I feel guilty. Like, I feel guilty if I do something wrong now. Like, if I ever stole anything or anything like that now, I would feel very guilty about it because I have a conscience, because my conscience is clean, and in order for me to keep it clean, I can't do things that make me feel guilty. So you got to try to keep your street clean. your side of the street clean, man. All right, so let's see. Number 9, real friendships instead of loneliness. Now, this one is good because, yes, I feel like you make real friendships in recovery because when you're using, the people you hang out with, like they tell you when you get sober, you got to change people, places, and things, and you absolutely do, because when you're using, a lot of those people, when you get sober, they're not around anymore. Like you'll notice when you get sober, a lot of the people that you used to hang out and get drunk with all the time or do drugs with all the time, eventually they might call you in the beginning and try to get you to come back out because I've had that happen to me. And a lot of people I've heard in meetings say it happens because they don't want you sober. Like they don't want to be sober. They're addicts and they want you to be with them. Miserable, incontent, guilty, no self-respect. That's how they want you. And when you say no and you change hanging out with them, they eventually just disappear. Like you're going to have real friendships in recovery. You're going to meet people that actually become your real friends because they're people that you're meeting when you're sober. You're not meeting these people all messed up on stuff. You're not meeting these people in a bar and becoming friends with them at a bar. And then all you're doing is drinking and doing dumb things with them. Like I have real friends. I don't have a lot of friends. I mean, I had a lot of acquaintances, like I had to change people, places, and things, I mean, unfortunately, I moved back to where I used a lot of drugs, but in the town that I live in, but I don't use because I choose not to. Unfortunately, sometimes you can't change everything of it. You have to know what you want, and I want to be sober. So I want to stay sober and I want to help people be sober. I want to, that's why I want to get my voice out there. I want people to hear what I have to say and want to listen to it. And I want to help people who are struggling with sobriety get sober and stay sober. I've watched things on Facebook. I've seen some people on here who are sober. Some like this one guy's been in like concert things where he's talked in front of thousands of people. Like I want to be like that. I would love to get on stage and talk to other people about recovery, about my life. Like I want to do all that stuff. So I'm hoping that people start listening to me. And I hope I get more real friends. I hope I get a lot of real friends in this because that's what I want. That's what the promises, the rewards say. That's another one, the promises we could talk about. This is just the rewards. I have the promises too. I think I have them right here. Let's see, right? No, this is something else I typed up. This is a good one. I'll read this before I get off. So, yes, you will definitely, loneliness still does happen in recovery. Even though it says real friendship instead of loneliness. That's just basically saying the people you hang around with when you're using are not real friends and you're going to feel lonely in your using. And I did. I felt a lot, very, very lonely when I was using. Even though I was around a lot of people all the time. I feel lonely sometimes. Not having, I guess, a girlfriend makes me feel lonely because I don't want to be alone. Like I want to have somebody to hang out with and share my time with. My kids are getting older and I'm looking for that. I feel I'm actually ready for a relationship now. I don't think I was a couple years ago. I feel like I am now. So that's the still lonely part of me is just not having somebody to be with, and it'll happen, I hope, in time. I'm just going to let God, leave it up to God. Maybe God doesn't think I should be with anybody at the moment, but that's off relationships. Anyway, okay. So number 10 is a clean pattern of life instead of a purposeless existence. Yes. A clean pattern of life. A clean pattern of life. Your life will get cleaner. It'll get more interesting. You'll have more, what's the word? Let me think. A clean life. Yeah, a clean pattern of life. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're going to start doing more positive things with your time. Your existence is going to be a lot cleaner than it was when you were using, because when you're using, you're just a dirty person. You have no existence. Like you're just living. We live to use and we use to live. That sums that up right there. A clean pattern of life instead of a purposeless existence. We use to live and we live to use. I used to live and live to use. And now I don't. Now I have a clean pattern of life because I wake up every day. I get up. When I have work, I go to work. I pay all my bills. I be a father to my kids. I be a good citizen. And I don't hurt anybody. I try to respect everybody. My life it's a good, clean pattern. Like, my pattern now is good. It's not, oh, wake up, got to get high. Because I remember when I was doing opiates and I'd first wake up, I would be dope sick and I'd have to get high. That's the first thing I had to do. Like, even before I had to use the bathroom, I had to get high because I was so sick. That's just not, that's a purposeless existence. You don't have to live like that. I mean, I'm not saying that because you're using your purposeless life. No, everybody's life matters. But I'm saying the way we live our lives when we're using it's like purposeless. There's no purpose when all you want to do is just get high all day. What's your purpose in this world? What are you doing that has meaning? You know what I mean? Like, that's what it's saying, a clean pattern of life. Like, you have meaning to your life now when you get sober. That when you're using, because we don't have a meaning. I know I didn't. I had no purpose. My purpose was just, what? I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you. Number 11 is love and understanding from our families instead of their doubts and fears. My family, my grandma especially, is so proud of me for getting sober, being sober. Like my uncle, for instance. He wants to get me a car. I don't have a license at the moment. I'm going to the DMV in a couple of weeks, and I'm hoping that I can get my license back. And my uncle's so proud of me, he wants to get me a car, supposedly. And I'm hoping that it's in God's plan for me to get my license back and get a car, because I ride a bicycle and it sucks. I do it because I have to be responsible, and I'll do it, whether I get my license back or not, but it sucks. I'm 44 years old and I ride a bike. I mean, my job is over 5 miles just to get there, and it's a lot on me, especially in the winter. Oh, this last winter was horrible. It was freezing. Let me tell you, my hands, boy. Ooh. But you know what? I got a clean pattern of life. So, I have a reason. And that's what that's saying. And I love and understanding from our family instead of their dad. My kids love me, and unfortunately, they didn't get to know me. I'm not saying unfortunately like in a bad way. I'm saying unfortunately because they didn't get to know that part of their dad, which I'm so thankful they don't, and they didn't. But they know things about me because I'm honest with my kids. And my kids really respect me, and they're proud of me. My kids have told me numerous times how proud they are of me that I'm sober. A lot of my family has told me how proud of me they are, because they hated watching me deteriorate and throw my life away in front of them. My grandma hated it when I would get drunk, because I'm a nasty drunk. You're obviously Irish and German and Scottish in me, but I am a nasty drunk. Not all the time. I wasn't always nasty. There was times I had good times, but there was more times I was nasty than I'd like to say. And my grandma hated when I would drink. So, but now I have a lot of love and understanding for my family. I do. And I love it. And it makes me feel so much better about myself, knowing that I'm not hurting them anymore, that I'm here and I'm doing what I need to do as a person in recovery. And last and not least, 12, freedom of a happy life. Let me say that again. Freedom of a happy life instead of the bondage of an alcoholic and drug obsession. So, in this day and age right now, I don't have that alcohol or drug obsession anymore. I'm not saying it's not there in me still, but I don't have it today. I have freedom from that. I don't wake up and need to use right when I get up. Or I have to go out and I have to get drunk tonight to feel like I'm doing something with myself. Or to go talk to people. Or be the life of the party. Like, I used to do all that because I suffer from anxiety. So alcohol helped with my anxiety. It took it away, and then I felt better at times. And now I have to deal with all my anxiety. I deal with it all at work. People don't even realize I'm having anxiety. I have panic attacks and everything, and it's horrible. And a lot of it's from using drugs. Like, I think ecstasy was one of the main reasons why I started having panic attacks in the first place. Because I remember before that having panic attacks. But that was a long time ago. But yeah, I mean, my life is good today. Like, I'm happy where I'm at. Like, I actually have a freedom of a happy life. I have a happy life. Whether it's not the best life, I can make it better, and I'm working on that. I work on it every day. In recovery, we work on ourselves every day. That's why it's called recovering. You don't just get sober and you're recovered. You don't ever recover. You don't ever recover from addiction. You're always going to be an addict, always going to be an alcoholic, but you have the choice to be a recovering alcoholic addict. Someone who can wake up and not use for that day and do something positive with themselves. And then you do it again and you do it again. Because, like I said, I'm always going to be recovering. I will never be recovered. You don't recover. You're always in recovering. You're always in recovery. And then I don't remember. I think I wrote this. No, it says these rewards will happen on a daily basis if we work towards a new way of life. One day at a time, your life will continue to get better and better as long as you stay sober. And I printed this. I typed this up my other computer had in 5/21/2019. So I had a little over 2 years sober. And the other thing I wanted to read, this is from the 24 Hours a Day book. It's actually from January 6th. And I typed this up. So I almost had 2 years sober when I wrote this up. I added this one part because I added the drug part because it's from the AA book, so there's no drug in it, but I added it. It says, keeping sober is the most important thing in my life. The most important decision I ever made was my decision to give up drinking and drugging. I am convinced that my whole life depends on not taking that first drink or drug. Nothing in this world is as important to me as my own sobriety. Everything I have, my whole life, depends on that one thing. And the question is, can I afford ever to forget this, even for 1 minute? 24 hours, one day at a time. No, I can't. I can't ever forget that. Then I'm never going to forget that. Then I had them hanging on my wall for a long time because I need to look at that. Everybody's rewards, whether it's these rewards or whatever, everybody's gonna have different rewards. These are just big rewards they bring up, but there's way more than 12 rewards, I feel. Every day you wake up and you make it through another day sober is a reward. Like I can't reward myself unless I stay sober. And that's the biggest reward that I can get in sobriety, I feel like, is staying sober, because that's the reward of not using today. That's my big reward, is, I'm not using and I'm sober. And I wonder if you guys could see me better, I hope, because my son gave me this light ring thing. It's kind of cool. I feel like it's making my face brighter. I ordered a new camera today. I got a converter thing for my microphone. So what I was saying before is I'm trying to update my equipment. Like, this microphone's good. I watched a couple of YouTube videos about podcasting, trying to get better at it. And, the what is this microphone called? The Fifine. It's like an $80 microphone. It's good. I like it. I mean, I guess the sounds good. I got a camera for my computer, but it also comes with a tripod, so I can put it next to my computer. I want to get it like a couple more cameras, because I want to try to have different angles. So if I could get one more, they're, cameras that you put on your computer, but it comes with, you could get tripods for these things. I didn't even know this. So I could set one up on each side of my computer, and I think I can use all three. I think the converter, I could change angles. That'd be kind of cool. Eventually, I'm hoping to get a room. Me and my fiance, I want us to move to a different house. I'd love to, where I can get a room to actually do my podcast and not my bedroom. Right now, it's fine. I'm just starting out. It's perfectly cool. I want to set up a background. Like, I see, I watch stuff online, and some of the setups are so cool that people have. Like, I got a banner coming with my crazy Jay's World logo on it that I want to put in the bag. I bought a green screen, so I can have it out when I do interviews. I want to make this channel into something cool, and, like I said, I was going all wrong about it. I was trying to do content to get people to listen, and people were listening, but I got to do the content that I know I need to do, and that's addiction. I took a course, I don't remember, it was 2 years. I think it might have even been 3 years now. Actually, no, it's 3 years this summer. So I'm not technically certified, because I took a peer recovery course to be a peer recovery specialist. And I took it I have certificates that are hanging on my wall in my hallway. So technically I was certified, but you had to do 500 hours of community service, kind of, volunteering. And I couldn't do it. I just had a hard time getting it. I don't drive. So that put a lot of toll on me. And and you only had 2 years to do it. And then I'd have to take the course over. I'm thinking about trying to take it over again if I get my license back, but technically I learned stuff in the course. I have the books. I feel like with my knowledge, I can help people, and so I consider myself a peer recovery specialist, whether I'm certified or not. I was certified. I had a 2-year certification. Just because you lose your certification because it expired doesn't mean you're not that. I have a lot of knowledge in using between my life and people I've talked to and people I've hung out with. I'm going to keep finding, I'll find things to read on here with you guys. I'll find things to talk about recovery, because that's what I want to do. Yeah, I'm enjoying doing this. It was a little weird the first podcast I did, even the second one, and then I don't know, coming on now, it's just getting a little easier to do, making my shorts on my phone for my YouTube. And like I said on my YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. I need views, I need subscribers to grow this channel, because YouTube won't grow it, because this goes on YouTube too. It goes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but it won't grow on YouTube unless people review it, they share it, they comment, they subscribe. Please, Crazy J's World on YouTube. Please start checking it out. There's not a lot of stuff on there yet, but as long as I keep doing this, it will eventually grow into more. Yeah, and that's the one thing I want to talk about today. I wanted to just let everybody know that I'm starting the podcast from the beginning, and I wanted to do the rewards. I could do it again, maybe in another future episode. I'll do the 12 rewards again. I'm going to do the promises. If I could find the paper, I could get them online. I'd like to read the promises. Maybe in the next one I do, we'll talk about the promises. Read the promises and we'll discuss them. But I want people to comment on what they liked about the 12 rewards. If you want to take a screenshot of it, I'll hold it up for a sec. I don't know how great you could see it. Or you can look it up, and they're AAs. They're not mine. I didn't create them. I just copied them from the thing. I retyped them up and I laminated it. And I needed to have it. So yeah, please check me out. And I'm gonna end this podcast. That was what I wanted to do, and I'll save some stuff for the next one. So I want to end with the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. And I want to say that I love everybody out there. We need peace in the world. I hope we can figure that out. I hope you guys liked my episode, and I will get better at doing this podcast thing, because I'm still working on getting better. I need to watch a couple podcasts, listen to a couple podcasts, but I want to do some interviews, maybe eventually have someone come on and do this with me, but as of right now, it's just a single podcast, it's just me. But I'm just going to keep at it. I'm going to keep doing this. God wants me to do this, so I'm going to keep doing it. And hopefully more people will listen, and maybe people will start wanting to hear stuff from me, So again, this is Crazy J, baby. And I'm happy right now. I really am that I get to do this. This is pretty cool. I was nervous to do this, but it's pretty cool. And I can't wait till more people start listening to me. So the next episode, I don't know what it's going to be about yet. It's going to be about recovery life. It's going to be about something. I got some ideas written down, so we're just going to go from there. All right? But it's been fun, peeps. And we're going to do a cheering out. Yeah, baby. We got the cheering going on. So, great episode. That's right, we're going to keep that cheering going. Yeah, baby. Recovery. Something to be happy about. It's something to cheer about. Remember that. Recovery. Just cheer about it. We got to stay sober, people. People who are sober, keep it up, man. One day at a time. All right? But God bless everybody and have a great night. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.